The most read article on Washington Post yesterday was an article that talks about how Newsmax and OAN covered the Electoral College voting that happened yesterday. You know what? There are so many things that is going on inside and outside the United States. And the most read article is what Newsmax and OAN, the two right-wing media companies, did yesterday, and how they covered the largely ceremonial voting process. One of the factors behind the rise of right wing media personalities and the right wing media in general in the last 5 years is their ability with which they were able to manipulate the mainstream media into covering them. Fox News is an expert at doing this. They will pick up a topic. Most of the time, it will be a big nothing burger, but they will keep hammering it over and over so hard. At times, there will be wall to wall coverage, interviews, and whatnot. And the mainstream media will look at it and be like, oh shit, I need to cover that. And one by one, they will start talking about what Fox News is talking about, and boom, the job is done. What Fox would have done is it would have set the agenda and it would also have got enough promotions by idiots who are part of the mainstream. Now, who the heck cares about how Newsmax and OAN covered the Electoral College meeting? Anyone who cares about it has already watched it on Newsmax and OAN. But the Washington Post thought it would be a great idea to write about what the two ultra right wing news companies had to say. And it was the most read article on their site. Of all the gazillion articles they published yesterday, this nonsense was the most read article. Now, millions of Americans who read the Washington Post are well aware of Newsmax and OAN. That's an advertisement for Newsmax and OAN free of cost. As long as idiots remain idiots, the outrageous crazies will continue their crazy. When someone screams for attention, and if you know he is a bad person, the best you do is ignore. Come on, Washington Post, be better than this. The last but one nail on the Trumpian plan to steal the election is in. The Electoral College meeting happened yesterday without any big trouble, with 306 electors certifying their votes for Biden and the rest going for Donald Trump. A landslide, as Trump would call it.
Because we did something that nobody thought was even possible, and we ended up with 306 to 223. That's a pretty big victory.
The only place we faced a slight hiccup happened in Michigan, when a state representative kept asking the Republican Party to find a way to appoint Trump electors. He even went as far as saying that voting could lead to violence. But the Speaker of the House, Lee Chatfield, was equally ready to handle the tantrum. He removed the representative from committee assignments and rejected his request to appoint Trump electors. What Mr. Lee Chatfield said may end up being attached to his name forever. Good on him. He said, I fear we would lose our country forever. This truly would bring mutually assured destruction for every future election in regards to the Electoral College, and I cannot stand for that. I won't. But other than that one incident, the rest of the voting process went smoothly, and Biden has the votes to be sworn as the next president of the United States. As if on cue, Vladimir Putin, who purposefully delayed acknowledging Biden's victory, congratulated Biden for winning the presidential election. It must have been a huge relief for Putin to watch the drama that happened after November 3rd. For years, the United States accused Russia of manipulating elections, rearranging the constitution to keep Putin in power, and systematically ripping the opposition apart. In short, it has always been the United States that will complain about the election process in Russia, and this is the first time in history that Putin had the opportunity to return the favor, and he made full use of it. He gleefully refused to acknowledge Biden's victory as Donald Trump, the president of the country, went around making the case that the election was rigged. Now, wait a minute. The GOP has a violence division? Well, you have to tell me if that assessment is right or wrong. Let me know in the comment section. When Chris Wallace asked President Trump to denounce Proud Boys during the first debate, a far right wing group that is known for its violence, he did not denounce them. Instead,
Boys, stand back and stand by.
And what has this GOP done to distance itself from groups like Proud Boys, whose founder goes around and keeps telling people that he wants its members to be violent? The GOP never asked these groups to pack their bags and leave. It just sits back and watches it. So yes, it is the violent arm of the GOP, and the group was in full action mode in the last couple of days. But if the group was expecting to show some results for the action they took, then nothing of that sort happened. It just tarnished their image in the eyes of the people of the country while dragging the GOP along with them. DC Police Chief Peter Newsham said that around 700 Proud Boys were moving around in DC looking for a fight. The violence has led to dozens of arrests, four stabbings were reported, Black Lives Matter signs were ripped apart in places, and historic black churches were vandalized. I really don't understand what the GOP thinks it will gain by having groups like Proud Boys inside its tent. It may have made sense for the white, nationalist, populist policies espoused by this president. He won the 2016 election with 77,000 votes in the Midwest and lost the next one by 7 million votes despite spending $1.2 billion. The GOP said if Biden wins, radicals will come to your neighborhood and destroy your suburbs. Now, the radicals who are out there in the hundreds are the ones who are with the GOP. So, this was a big surprise, or maybe not. Trump announced yesterday that Attorney General William Barr will leave office next week. And according to reports, the decision to quit was Mr. Barr's and not the president's. And I think there might be some truth in it. Trump and Barr only have few more weeks left anyway. With the Electoral College certifying its votes yesterday, Trump has no use or no need to hire and fire an attorney general. But from Barr's perspective, you never know what Trump will ask him to do in the last few days he is in the White House. Instead of sitting there and doing something that may set his head on fire in the future, it is better to cut and run as far as he possibly can before Trump asks him to cross a few more red lines. The United States has lost more people to coronavirus than any other country in the world. The US is not the country with most people in the world, but it is the country that lost most people to COVID. The right wing media continues to keep talking about these deaths in percentages, arguing more than 98% people are doing okay, as if deaths in small percentages is something we need to live with. They are not going to change their tune and they will never do. Lives have become just that, percentages in their calculation. Every topic is a tool to divide and oppose. And yesterday, we crossed another grim milestone, 300,000 deaths. I did spend some time to figure out how many developed countries it would take to match the US death toll, but I was going through it one by one. I felt so ashamed that I stopped with Israel. It wasn't worth it. I could have got that number if I had spent a few more minutes in it, but I didn't want to know. Sorry. So, vaccines are rolling out, but a significant proportion of the population is still not convinced of taking it. But in one way, I really don't think it's a bad news. Since vaccines are going to be scarce anyway for a while, if not everyone is rushing to get it, it will be easy for first responders, healthcare workers, teachers, and the most vulnerable to get the vaccines first. So let's get it to them first and then keep moving down the list. Thankfully, we will have a new administration, and when the full force of the US government is unleashed, we can, step by step, convince the overwhelming majority of the population to take the vaccination. It will take time, but the pharma companies also need time to produce 300 to 400 million doses that we need. So, everyone who is out there who is not ready to take the vaccine, it's okay. Just stay stupid for a while, as one half of the country gets vaccinated and the other half is not. And when outbreaks keep happening in the unvaccinated half, one by one, they will start falling in line. They just need time. Let us give them all the time that they need, no rush. On a lighter note, if you are working out and trying to reduce weight, then there is some good news and bad news for you. A new study shows that people can lose weight if they work out, but only if they keep at it. Working out a couple of days a week is not going to work out. That's the bad news. The good news is if you work out 6 days a week for up to an hour, then you can truly reduce your weight. Of course, it will depend on how overweight you are and what your intake versus your workout is. But the point is, don't think working out here and there will be enough to tilt the weighing machine. If you are serious about it, then it needs serious commitment. 1 hour a day, 6 days a week will certainly move the needle. That's the verdict. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like, please subscribe.